Trendlin, I played the Penguin and the Boner song yesterday. Where were you? I thought you were in the chat. You sent me $50 yesterday, and as my thank you to you, at the end of the stream, I played both the Penguin and the Boner song. And now you want me to play them again? Trendlin, I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that again. Can I cash this in another time and I'll watch another episode of the Whatever podcast or something? Only if Andrew is debating. We're going to talk about Andrew in a second, by the way. I have beef with Andrew Wilson right now. Kind of. Not really. Just a little tiny bit. Actually, why don't we do that? Okay, so we are going to be listening to this Antifa document in a second, but we're putting the Antifa document aside so that I can talk about why I am upset at Andrew Wilson, because, it didn't have to be this way. It didn't have to be this way, Andrew. It just didn't have to be this way. I don't understand. So yesterday, Andrew Wilson did a show with Jake. Is Jake Rattlesnake? Is that who that is? I think I follow him on Twitter. I apologize if I'm getting the wrong person. I suck at names. And then Dave Smith, and I do not like Dave Smith. Dave Smith is afraid of me, quite frankly. Dave Smith is like terrified of me. It's actually kind of funny. I'll tell that story another day, but he legitimately is. Anyway, so yesterday, Andrew and Dave Smith and Jake watched a little bit of one of my clips from one of my spy streams. And I just want to play you the first little bit of this because I was live on the internet yesterday when this happened. And then people from that chat started coming over here saying, debate him. And it was all playful and fine. And I wasn't upset about it or anything. But let's watch what happened. I'm not causing no problems. I'm not trying to. We're just trying to
as we are watching.
All right. So now we've got Karlyn Borysenko, who infiltrated this meeting with something Greenberg. I can't remember what Leah Greenberg, who is the head of Indivisible, who's the organization that's organizing the No Kings protest. She
recently, Karlyn said on my Twitter that she adores my debate style. True. I didn't have the heart to tell her that it's only because she's never been on the other end of it. But here's hoping, gentlemen. Here's hoping.
Of brutal rage.
It is true that I have started to enjoy Andrew's debate style. And, this is an interesting opportunity, right? Because Andrew and I do disagree on some things. One of the things we disagree on is that we do have to teach him how to pronounce my name. It is Karlyn, like George Carlin, except spelled way different. That's okay. Common mistake. I don't hold it against anyone for that. However, it was funny because I didn't watch this clip until later last night. But right after I got off my stream, I DM'd him because we have chatted in DMs just back and forth here and there, just a teeny tiny little bit. And I DM'd him and I said, hey, I heard you showed my clip on your stream and said some stuff. Thanks for that. And people told me I needed to debate you or something. And he wrote back and he's like, well, do you want to talk about libertarian ethics? And I kind of was like, I don't really want to talk about libertarian ethics because it's just like, I honestly don't really care right now about libertarian ethics. My head is deep in the far left and that's where it's going to stay. And so I said, no, but I'll debate you on any sort of like leftist thing if you want to talk about that. And then he kind of played it off. He's like, no, it's just a stick. And he was like, yeah. So Andrew was clearly not interested in debating me on the left, even after he made this whole big thing about she just hasn't been on the other side of it. Okay. Wasn't really worried about it. And then after I chatted with him in DMs, and again, I wasn't upset or anything, I went and I actually watched this and I was like, sir, I don't know if I appreciate your tone on this show, sir. Do you actually think that I'm afraid to sit across from you in a debate? On the far left, especially. And so I posted on Twitter. I said, hey guys, just so you know, Andrew doesn't seem to want to debate me on the left because he didn't really seem interested in it in the DMs, which again is fine. I don't actually really care either way. But I posted publicly, I said, well, it kind of seems like Andrew isn't interested in debating me because after he made that comment with that tone, is she's never been on the other side of it. I'm not the one that's afraid. And so I posted that on Twitter, and then I DM'd it to him, and he responded, and he said, I never said I wouldn't debate you. I was like, okay, what topic do you want to debate about on the left? And he said, well, give me some topics. And I said, well, what do we disagree on? And then I said, oh, I know what we disagree on, Andrew. I know what we can debate about. Does the left hate white people? I lobbed Andrew the softest of softballs. There is no bigger softball question that I could gift him for a debate with his audience watching, because you know exactly what's going to go on. His audience thinks that the left hates white people. The left wants to genocide white people. They don't understand that when the left says whiteness, they're not talking about skin color. They're talking about systemic racism, or the system that upholds racism, which is, of course, capitalism. And, you know, I would be able to present my receipts. And, you know, the funny thing is, and I don't know if Andrew knows this, I wrote a whole book about this earlier this year. It's called A Brief History of Racism. This book starts at the invention of the term racism, which happened in 1902, by the way. The word racism was created in 1902, and it follows the evolution of the definition of the term racism all the way up to the modern day. And if you read this book, you're going to find out that the definition of racism very rarely had to do with skin color. It almost always had to do with capitalism. They've said it overtly for decades. And I provide quotes and historical context all throughout the book so people can see this. And I don't know if Andrew knows that I wrote that, but I did. And I offered to have the most softball debate with him that I could possibly have, which is, does the left hate white people? And he said, okay. And I said, okay, sir, when would you like to have this debate? And he said, not for at least a couple of weeks, because this is a really stupid gay topic. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, listen, I know Andrew Wilson is more busy than I am. He goes on all these shows, and I respect that. You know, he travels, he actually does stuff. I sit at home in my house and I think about the left. So I was like, okay, Andrew, I am at your beck and call, and you can let me know when you would like to debate this topic. But you know what I thought was funny about it was the almost instant deflection of like, I can't do this right now because this topic is gay and stupid, or something like that. I was like, Andrew, why don't you want to debate the most softball topic that you possibly can with me? Is it because you know I would kick your ass because I know all the historical context for this, and you debate stupid OnlyFans girls on the internet, and I'm not a stupid OnlyFans girl, and I have the entire context of this like a Rolodex in my head. And not only do I have the entire context of this as a Rolodex in my head, I also have the video documentation from all these trainings that we've been watching for years, including Cheryl Harris at UCLA in 2014, 20 years after she wrote the paper, Whiteness is Property, at Harvard Law School, explicitly saying that whiteness is not about skin color, that Black people can be white too, that whiteness is always about capitalism. And in addition to all of this, I understand the dissident right-wing position on they believe the left wants to erase white people, and all of this diversity stuff is to get rid of white people. And I also understand their arguments about racial consciousness, and I'm actually can be very respectful of those arguments, even if I don't like them or agree with all of them. But I actually understand what the right wing believes when it comes to why they think this is about killing white people. And I know how to explain, listen, I understand why you believe this, and the outcome of what the left is doing is inevitably in this direction, but you still have to understand it's a different problem. And so could it be that the king of debate himself really just doesn't want to debate this topic with me? Could it be that the king of debate might be a little, because now this is twice within 24 hours that Andrew seems to be posturing on his show. Well, she just doesn't know what it's like to sit on the other side of me. Okay? Tell me when, Andrew. Tell me when. And if you don't want to debate whether or not the left hates white people because you just found out that I literally wrote an entire book about this topic and can run circles around you without even trying very hard, if you don't want to debate this topic, if you want to switch to like literally any other topic on the left, just name the topic, bro. Name the topic. I will literally talk to you about any topic on the left that I cover. I cover gender ideology, I cover queer theory, I cover environmental justice, I cover abortion, I cover every major activist topic on the left. So pick a topic, find a disagreement, I will literally debate you on any of them. So we'll see. The ball is in the debate king's court. And we'll see who's afraid to sit across from who, Andrew. Game on. Game on.